What's going on, Jeromes? It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Birds are chirping and stuff, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. And things are starting to heat up. And Marcus Davenport, who was unfortunate free agent signing last year. The Vikings paid him $13 million, and they're hoping that he would stay healthy. And when he was healthy, he was actually pretty good. But 2 ankle injuries, including a surgery, and just didn't work out. But the Vikings did have some void years tacked onto the back end of his deal to make the 2023 cap a little bit more palatable. And his contract was due to void on Monday, on February 19th. But the Vikings mutually agreed to push back that void date to March 13th, which coincides with Kirk and Danielle Hunter. And there's a couple reasons. Number one, this doesn't automatically mean that they're going to bring Marcus Davenport back. It's still a possibility, sure, but it isn't a slam dunk. And yeah, a lot of people are upset. A lot of Vikings fans are uber upset because of bringing back a guy who a lot of people think stole $13 million last year. It's not great, but I think it is smart from the standpoint of the Vikings, pushing this date back, where if they do decide to extend Davenport, it will prorate the $6.8 million, 1.7 over 4 years, versus $6.8 million dead on the 2024 cap, even though that's already been accounted for. But they want to see what happens with Danielle, and negotiations can continue with Danielle all the way up to the start of the new league year, all the way through the start of legal tampering. The Vikings do have the inside track there, and with DJ Wanham as well, who is an open market free agent, I think the Vikings want to get a sense of if Danielle is going to be back, if Wanham is going to be back, and if so, they could probably tell Davenport to kick rocks. But I don't think much changes with Davenport versus last offseason. Basically, you're gambling that he can stay healthy. And the Vikings saw enough flashes that maybe they're intrigued. But with Davenport, it's got to be minimal. Absolute bare bones, minimal deal, heavily laden with incentives. If he stays healthy, if he racks up sacks, sure. Absent that, no. But also, people shouldn't freak out because this is exactly what happened with Diesel Dalvin Tomlinson last offseason, nearly to the day. So they backed up his void date to March 15th, the start of last year's new league year. And eventually they decided not to work out a deal with Diesel Dalvin. They took on the void year dead cap hits in 2023, and Diesel Dalvin signed for a $14 million a year deal with the Browns, and the Vikings weren't going to contend with that. So it is smart. It does give them options where if Danielle and Wanham are gone, maybe you bring Davenport back on a very cheap deal, a very cheap, very team-friendly, incentive-laden deal. Nothing more than that. You ain't giving him $13 million again. But if Danielle and or Wanham are back, then Davenport can hit the old dusty road. But speaking of money, so PFT salary cap is poised to be as much as $243 million per team and maybe higher. It's funny. Poised to be as much as 243, maybe higher. Now, we've seen projections with some of the new TV money, and yes, people pissed off about streaming games. That's where all the money's coming from. So it could be up to $250 million, some estimates out there, and that would be up from two and a quarter last year. But the adjusted salary cap number over at SpotRack has been 242.5, and so you take 242.5 plus the Vikings rollover of just shy of $9 million, and that's where they get their cap estimates. But so their cap estimate for the Vikings top 51 is $28 million and change, and that includes the $28 million dead from Kirk. That includes the $14 million dead from Danielle, and as well as the $6.8 million dead from Marcus Davenport. So the Vikings, I mean, even with those dead cap hits, they do have some cash to play with. Also, an extension of JJ would lower his number from 19,743 down to whatever they want to make it. And if the cap is, if the cap is 243, this is about where we're going to be. But if it is 250 for the Loch Ness Monster, I mean, that's another $8 million that the Vikings can play with, as well as throw at L'Jarius Sneed or Jalen Johnson if he hits free agency. Who knows, man? So the draft, finding your future franchise quarterback, whether it's Drake May, whether it's J.J. McCarthy, whether it's Michael Penix Jr., whether it's Bo Nix, whether it's Jaden frickin' Daniels. So Louis Riddick, former NFL executive with the Eagles, and has been rocking ESPN for many years. He loves him some Jaden Daniels, and I would love the whole Skol SU motif. It makes it go from 6 to midnight. Also, I think JJ would be very much okay signing here long term and working with Jaden Daniels. But this is what Louis Riddick said. The data and the tape both showing that Jaden Daniels, the best quarterback in college football in 23, and against the best competition teams is when he was his best compared to all other quarterbacks. What determines where he goes in the draft, how high he is selected, will not be because of what he did on the field, because he was lights the F out between the white lines. Now, there will be some concerns, 1 year big production as well as his style of play. I mean, Jaden Daniels, like, he likes to throw his body around, like, in really weird ways. He's going to have to take care of himself at the next level. And, people see him as like a 6'4" RG3. I feel like he's body type wise, he's a little bit less muscular. Jalen Hurts, like, ain't squatting 600 pounds. He could add some muscle to his frame, but also a little bit more accurate, a little bit more of a high top end speed runner than Jalen Hurts. So I do think that Hurts could be a guy that if his skill set is catered to and he develops a little bit further, footwork is a little bit of an issue, as well as he learns to protect himself. Man, I think that he could be generational. And, of course, we get hyperbolic this time of year, but could he be the best parts of Philly Randall Cunningham? Yes, I think he certainly could be. Could he be the best parts of young Steve Young in San Francisco and also in sort of Tampa Bay? Yes, I think he certainly could be. So, I mean, Jaden Daniels is a very exciting prospect, man. Speaking of exciting prospects and speaking of LSU guys, so Mike Florio. Florio's sort of an odd one, talking about Kirk Cousins, talking about JJ as of late. That's not a thermos. But Purple Persuasion put this together. On Pro Football Talk today, PFTPM, Florio expands on Justin Jefferson's situation. Quote, do they, the Vikings, even want to pay Justin Jefferson market value? That's another issue to keep an eye on as it relates to the receiver market. I said last year, if the Vikings don't sign Justin Jefferson to a long-term contract before the start of the regular season, you have to take seriously the possibility to trade him and use whatever they get as ammunition to trade up. So not even before the start of the regular season, like probably before the draft. Like, I think if the Vikings are going to trade JJ, it's going to be before the draft this year, because if you wait till next year, the next year's quarterback class is seen as not as good as this year. And if the Vikings want to cash in their chips with JJ, if they don't want to pay a receiver $30 million plus a year, as well as heavy guarantees in the 2025-2026, that's a discussion to be had. I believe at the core, what they want is a long-term, year-to-year, 10 to 15 franchise quarterback like Fran Tarkenton. He forgets that Fran Tarkenton was a third-round pick. Although there was only 14 teams back in the league, so he was number 29 overall, but I fully understand. But I do think that ownership understands that JJ is the face of the franchise. He is box office. People don't buy season ticket packages. Again, this is no disrespect. People don't buy season ticket packages to see scary Terry McLaurin. Scary Terry is a fantastic receiver. They don't buy season ticket packages to watch Amari Cooper. They don't buy box seats and buy jerseys all the time for Devontae Adams with the Raiders. They don't do that anymore, right? But they do that with JJ. JJ is the face of the franchise. JJ is the face of the league, and he is extremely important to what the Vikings want to do offensively. Now, you could say, oh, they won one game with JJ and Lamb. Shut up. Shut your face, shut your mouth, whatever. But imagine, yes, you can have your future franchise quarterback. You do not have to give up JJ to do that. Also, the competitive advantage of having your starting quarterback on his rookie deal allows you to defray some of the costs in terms of cap percentage if you have JJ on a premium contract. And also, I mean, hell, if the Vikings jettison JJ, I could see them stockpiling the cap hits for JJ's deal in 2025, 2026, since they would have their rookie on his rookie deal. So that's food for thought. I think that the Vikings are going to have their cake and eat it too and go from there. Speaking of which, so it's been kind of weird that Brian Flores didn't have any of his guys follow him to the defense this year. Maybe it's because they saw Brian Flores as a one and done, but you're looking at Xavier Howard, you're looking at guys of that ilk, and now another one of Brian Flores' guys is currently hitting the market. Tom Pelissero, go. The Patriots are releasing veteran starting defensive lineman Lawrence Guy today per Souse. New England is doing right by Guy, a two-time Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. To let him go early, he should have a strong market. Also, it's funny, all the insiders, whenever a guy gets cut or yeeted, they're just like, he should have a strong market. they never say, hey, this guy's effed. But Lawrence Guy has been solid. Where he's not the flashy, edge rushing, putting up sack numbers type dude out there. But what he is a very strong 4-5 tech, good against the run, can provide a little bit of a pass rush as well. Obviously, a good dude off the field, have some leadership intangibles as well. Plus, I mean, even though Lawrence Guy is going to be 35, I feel like he does have. I feel like he does have some of that old man strength, like Calais Campbell, Jason. Now, he's not the pass rusher that Calais Campbell is, but I would be way more excited about Lawrence Guy than I would have, Dean Lowry last offseason. So having some solid depth and leadership along the defensive line, a little bit of versatility as well, plus a guy who has succeeded with Flores when he was in New England. Yes, I would absolutely take this friggin' guy. Speaking of friggin' guys, so Kirk Cousins has to decide. Basically, Minnesota loves Kirk Cousins. I feel like even the most ardent Kirk Cousins haters are just like, he's a good dude and he's above average, and if he takes a little bit less, sure, whatever. Also, the locker room loves and adores him, and also he's going to have great success here with Kevin O'Connell in year 3 and beyond. And if he wants to win a Super Bowl, this is going to be his best opportunity, because if he goes somewhere else, he has to win over a new locker room. He has to adapt to a new scheme. He has to work with new weapons, and that takes time. I mean, it probably took 2.5 seasons for him to really be the guy here in Minnesota. I mean, 2018, 2019 just weren't it, man. But, with Kirk, he has to decide if giving up all of that is worth a couple extra bucks. And, Vikings Insider compiled a lot of Vikings players and their thoughts on Kirko, JJ. I would love to have him stay and have that connection with him. Addison, we need Kirk back. We need Kirk back. Brian O'Neill, absolutely, absolutely. He says hi to me in the hallway. 1,000,000,000%. Pitt is not known for their mathematical department. I tell anybody that 10,000%. I'd rather have nobody else than Kirk under center for us. And Nick Mullins is like, hey, no. Alexander Master, I just pray that we get Kirk Cousins back because I love that guy. And obviously, what else are they supposed to say? You're supposed to say nice things about your incumbent and a guy that could be back with you next year. You're not supposed to say, F that guy. And then he resigns like a 3-year fully guaranteed deal, and you're probably gone. No, but it is important to note where if they didn't like Kirk Cousins, they could just be like, the business is a business. It is what it is. But no, it's very clear that this locker room is completely bought into Kirk Cousins, and that's something he's got to factor in. And if it's worth a couple extra bucks to leave all that and go to Atlanta, sure. I mean, passive aggressively, that's his decision. We'll see if it works out. Speaking of Vikings free agents with void years coming up. Also, I forgot about this picture because number one, Tom Johnson's in the background, but also, hey, look at the quarterback that Daniil just sacked, Kirko. Alec Lewis, the Athletic, put this together. Pretty crazy. Since Daniil Hunter's rookie season in 2015, here are the defenders who have more sacks than he does, 87.5. Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Chandler Jones, and Cam Jordan. Now, what's amazing is that many of these players, I believe everyone except for Watt and Garrett, are older or have more experience than Daniil. Plus, Daniil missed a season and a half. One season with the herniated disc in his neck, and basically a half a season with that torn pec. He's fully healthy, revved up, ready to go, and he's still one of the best edge rushers in the game. And not only that, he plays the run. He plays team defense. He plays within the framework. He isn't out there just trying to cherry pick sacks, which can't say that about every edge rusher in the league. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Lastly, so I understand that President's Day is, it's the observation of George Washington's birthday. Do not care. Move it to the Monday after the Super Bowl. How difficult is it? Do we have to go through, I'm just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill, or can this be like an executive order? Can whoever the president is just be like, we're moving President's Day to the day after the Super Bowl, and it'll be a floating holiday. Just do that, because who cares that Washington, some guy 300 years ago, 200 years ago, 250, was born on January 22nd with his stupid cherry tree and wooden teeth. Get the hell out of here. No, just say, hey, we're observing it in February, his birth month. Go ahead. It'd be perfect. And you don't need to add like an extra federal holiday. It could be part and parcel. Plus, I feel like, not getting into politics, but if a president was struggling and need to distract a little bit, just be like, we're moving this executive order XO. I don't care. We'll go to the Supreme Court. It'll pass. Like, also, it would be a great political football, pun intended, because hey, if this has to go through legislature, if you're a congressperson or senator, is like all of a sudden, hey, you're going to vote against this. You're going to vote against football. You're going to vote against America. No. And also Supreme Court justices, if the rule is like, yeah, I mean, who is ardently saying that we need to observe this on the Monday of the week of Washington's birthday on the 22nd? No, it's so stupid. Move the holiday. Move it. That's all, man. But that's it. That is Vikings news dump on this wonderful Tuesday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.